Good morning, Forest Park. Man, I tell you what, I love following the band. That's just awesome. They just do such a good job. Yeah. Well, this is the ending of our current series. This has been a 5-week journey, which I have enjoyed every single step. I hope you have as well. And you have learned over the last few weeks. We have admitted sometimes life sucks. Anybody want to say amen to that, right? Hey, it hurts. It does. It disappoints. It flips plans upside down. It rearranges the future. For some of us, the suckiness of life is minor. We didn't get the house we wanted. We didn't get the promotion. We've suffered some minor health setbacks. With a few adjustments, we'll get back on our feet. But for others, the suckiness of life is major. Severe health issues, the loss of a career, infertility, divorce, the loss of someone we love dearly. What we've endured has left us wondering if we will recover. Our hearts are broken, our dreams smashed, our faith in pieces. We've attempted throughout this series to give hope and guidance to those who have endured severe pain and who are looking for some direction. We've said, if you've been with us, you know. If you're just joining us in this series, hopefully this will fill you in a little bit. We've said healing, hope, and life on the other side of pain, heartache, and brokenness will not happen magically. No one's going to place their hand on you and pray for you, and all of a sudden, all the pain of your past, all the trauma you've endured, all the struggles, all the addictions, all the temptations, everything that brings hurt and disappointment to you will suddenly vanish and you will never struggle again. That's not going to happen that way. No one has that ability to just, dismiss all that pain of the past and just move on and never struggle again. We said what you're looking for will take learning and unlearning and trying. It will involve breaking old habits and forming new habits and leaning on God's grace and leaning on each other. We'll make it through, but it will be difficult and it will be slow. We've challenged you to consider the monsters we allow to speak to us, the people we allow to go on the journey with us, the habits we form, the advice we follow, the patterns of thinking we embrace. Over time, with tenacity and determined commitment to become the person God designed you to become, you will make it. You will experience hope again, peace again, life again. I guarantee it. So where do we go from here? We've covered all that material over the last few weeks. How do we wrap up this series? How do we put a period on it? Or maybe an exclamation point. Here's how. Today, I'm not going to give you anything to do. Okay? Somebody like, good, because I've got enough to do. I've been taking notes all this series. I've got lots of things to do, a list of things that I need to work on, some conversations I need to have, maybe a counselor I need to call, some scriptures I'm memorizing, some thoughts I'm changing, some patterns I'm forming, some habits I'm dropping. I mean, there's been a lot of material that we've given, a lot of guidelines, a lot of steps, a lot of truth. So today, as we wrap this up, I'm not giving you anything else to do. Okay? I don't want you to do anything. Today, I want you to feel. I want you to see. I want you to taste. I want you to experience. And here's how we begin to wrap up this series. Here's what I know. Sometimes when life sucks, when plans flip upside down, when disappointment rolls in like thunderstorms, we do not crash. We do not burn. We do not file for divorce. We do not drown ourselves in alcohol or sink into deep depression. In fact, some of us sitting in this room, you've been with us throughout this series. You've listened to all the things I've said and some of the symptoms I've given to those who are struggling and going through a really tough time in their life. And you're thinking, well, I don't do those things. Like, yeah, we've had some tough days, but my marriage didn't fall apart as a result. Sure, I've had some rough patches in my life, but, I didn't sink into deep depression. And you've kind of been listening to this material that we've been giving, and you're thinking, well, this must be for other people because those are not the ways I react, all those different things that Scott's been talking about. Some of us just accept what has happened to us, and we do the best we can to cope. You're tough, you're strong, you're intelligent. You refuse to allow the loss of a job to beat you down forever. You manage your emotions and you maintain your focus and you keep moving forward. In fact, you're so good, unless someone knew what happened, he or she would assume you're fine. Even more than fine. You're doing good. And this is especially true for some of the men in the room. The male ego is a little more prone to, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm strong, I'm not a wimp. But I know people. And I know men. And I know even though we act like we're okay, we are deeply hurting, but we refuse to admit it. Because we define strength as no pain. Suck it up, buttercup. Don't be a sissy. Everybody goes through tough times. Everybody goes through difficult moments. You don't have to crack under pressure. You don't have to give up. You don't have to throw your hands up and say, I can't take it anymore. But pain and disappointment sometimes affect us in ways not evident on the outside. Some of us wear our pain on the outside, and that's what we've been talking about throughout this series. We have affairs as a result. We become addicted to whatever it is. We have explosive anger, and all the pain that we've gone through in life, we just wear it right here. And people see it, they watch it, they see what's going on. But others of us wear our pain on the inside. We become depressed. We suffer anxiety. We even struggle at a deeper level. We become cynical. We become apathetic. There are some of you sitting in this room, the pain that you've endured in your life has caused you to become apathetic. You just kind of float through life. You're flat. You won't really admit it. We push it down. We push all the pain down, all the different things that we've gone through. We cover it up with a strong image, especially if you're in the military or you work in an environment where image is really important. But here's what I know, and I want you to listen to me very carefully because this is going to set up everything else I say today. Pain and disappointment cause us to wander a long way from the person we were created to become. You may stay in your marriage. You may maintain your job. You may not fall prey to drugs or alcohol. You may not have some big affair. You may not throw your hands up and quit on God or quit on the church. You may maintain every single thing else in your life, and everybody who looks at you says, hey, they got it going on. They've been able to take it in stride. No matter what it is they faced in life, they're fine, they're good. You may even say to yourself, I'm good, I'm okay, I'm strong. You may say to other people, I'm good, I'm okay, I'm strong. But here's what I've learned. You can have every single thing on the outside and look as if you are all together, but on the inside, you have wandered a long way away from the person God created you to be. Now, that doesn't mean that even though we've wandered away from the person God's created us to be, that we wander into bad stuff, as I just said. Some of us wander into good stuff in a way to escape. Some of us use money as a drug. So we got a big house and a big car and a boat and make tons of money, and all of that's used as a drug to numb us out to what's really going on the inside. Few of us have wandered into no stuff. What does that mean? We become flat, empty, vacant of vision. For many of us, we define how we're doing, how we're coping, how we're handling our disappointments by gauging the outside. We're no different than the Pharisees in Jesus' day. Jesus looked at the Pharisees one day and said, you guys clean the outside of the cup, but on the inside, you're filthy. You are dirty and you don't know it. You are sick, but think you're healthy. Pain and disappointment cause us to wander away from the dream God has for our lives. So we can be lost and think we're found. We can be trapped and think we're free. We can be numb, but think we feel. Listen to me very carefully. Hopefully this will bring it home. That's a little up here, a little abstract. Let me make it concrete. Let me put it right on your lap, okay? Do you have any idea how many people I speak with who express deep frustration with their spouses because their spouses seem distant? nonverbal, negative, depressed, lost in hobbies or entertainment or pornography, difficult to communicate with. They just carry with them a low level of anger all the time. It's almost as if they're robotic, little to no passion, merely going through the motions of life with little to no emotion. You have any idea how many of those spouses think they're absolutely fine when I speak with them? That's what I'm talking about. Inside, they've wandered away. On the outside, they maintain everything. They get up every single day, they go to work, they come home, they pay all the bills, they have the nice car, they have the nice home. They don't have some big explosive affair. They don't have an explosive anger. They don't have any of these, substance abuse on the outside. Everybody would look at them and go, now there goes a fine man, there goes a fine woman. But on the inside, they have wandered a long way away from the dream of God for them. The pain of their past has affected them, but they don't know it. They are blind to the truth about who they are and where they could be in life. Some of us, because of the suckiness of life, have wandered so far from home, we don't even know where home is. We have no idea where home is. We don't know what it means to be positive. We just think it's a personality trait. Some people are positive, some people aren't. We don't even know what it means to be faith-filled. Some people have faith, some people don't. We don't even know what it means to be excited about life. We don't even know what it means to communicate with our spouse, to dream big dreams, to love people, to experience peace, anticipate the future, feel passion surge through us, and enjoy hope. We have no idea what that's like. We've wandered so far away from home, we don't even know what home is like anymore. We have no idea. And here's why. We don't know we're lost because we don't know where we're supposed to be. If you were with us last week, you heard me talk about the herd assumption. You get in your herd and everybody in your herd's just wandering around, so you just assume that wandering around with no real dream, no real direction, no real aim in life is what everybody does, so I guess it's okay to do that. We are unconsciously lost. We're flying with no radar. We're backpacking the landscape of life without a map. We are literally going through the motions of life unaware of our lost condition. A man and woman come home from work. The man arrives at 5:30, the woman arrives at 6:15. He's in the kitchen getting dinner started. When she walks in the door, she asks him, "How was your day?" He grunts, "Fine." And that's about all she gets from him. After dinner, he disappears into the man cave, gets lost in TV or a computer. If she pushes it, he becomes angry. That's what I'm talking about. What's interesting is he is successful on his job. Most of his colleagues like him. They respect him. He seems to do fine at work, but he shuts down when he comes home. And he doesn't even know he's lost. He thinks he's absolutely fine because he doesn't even know where home is. So he gauges his life, his emotion, his feeling based on the herd he is around. A daughter comes home from college, tries to engage her mother in conversation. She wants to tell her about her new classes and this guy she met. Her mother's not interested in the details of her daughter's life. She just wants to know the facts. How are your grades? Did you make the volleyball team? And please don't do anything stupid with all the available guys. Her mother seems more interested in the way things appear to the community and the people attending their church than she does anything else. The daughter doesn't get it. Everyone at church thinks her mother is the sweetest, but they don't know her like she does. How is that possible? Where is the disconnection? We're going to go deep, okay? Can we do that? You ever heard of Plato's Cave? Okay, some of you read that. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Let me explain it. I want you to play an imaginary game with me for a moment, okay? I want you to imagine a cave where people have been imprisoned from birth. They are chained in such a way they can't move their heads, and they can only look at a wall in front of them. Behind the prisoners is a fire. And between the fire and the prisoners is a low wall with a walkway. People can walk behind the wall and hold puppets up above the wall. And the fire, the light of the fire, will cast onto the puppets and then onto the wall in front of the prisoners. And the prisoners see the shadows of the puppets on the wall. The sounds of the people behind them echo off the walls in such a way that the prisoners think the shadows in front of them are actually talking. All these prisoners know is what they have seen in front of them their entire lives. If they see a shadow of a book, they assume it is the actual book. They believe that's what a book looks like. Every single thing in their world is two-dimensional. Now imagine, after a few years, one of the prisoners escapes. The freed prisoner gets out of the cave and discovers the truth about reality. Outside the cave, at first, it's very painful. He has to relearn everything about his world. And eventually, the prisoner returns to the others who are still locked in chains in the cave and explains to them about reality as he has experienced it. He talks about colors and sounds and the sun and the moon and the stars. He explains what it's like to eat food and to drink wine and to listen to music. The bad news is, his fellow prisoners refuse to believe him. They cannot comprehend anything outside the cave. They cannot imagine anything 3D. They cannot imagine a ball of fire in a blue sky that just floats there. They cannot imagine sunlight, fresh wind, little twinkling balls of something stuck up in the black nothingness of light night. They can't imagine that. Flowers, gentle streams, roaring oceans, nothing. The only thing they can understand is what is projected onto the wall in front of them. There is freedom, there is hope, there is life, there is peace, there is love beyond their comprehension, beyond their experiences, beyond what they know. And unfortunately, listen very carefully, if this illustration were true, the prisoners would without a doubt eventually kill the messenger. Because the prisoners would unanimously judge the messenger mad. The Apostle Paul tells us, no eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no mind has imagined what God has prepared for those who love Him. 1 Corinthians 13:12. Now we see things imperfectly, like puzzling reflections in a mirror, but then we will see everything with perfect clarity. Paul says, all that I know now is partial and incomplete, but then I will know everything completely, just as God now knows me completely. You see, some of us in this room, some of us watching online, we are living in a cave, and we have no idea what is outside. Here's what I know about you. There is a you in the sunshine, and there is a you in the shadows. There is a you that is 3D, and there is a you that is flat. There is a you in full color, and there is a you in black and white. But let me ask you a question. Returning to Plato's illustration, the cave. For the prisoners in the cave, did the world really only exist in 2D? Did it only exist in black and white? Did it only exist in shadows? Or were those just the factors that the cave prisoners experienced? I know I'm asking you to think deep, but watch this question, or this statement. Never assume your experience fully reveals reality. Never make the amateur mistake of assuming your experience fully reveals reality. In fact, your experience could be so far below reality, true reality would blow your mind. Did a world exist for the prisoners outside the cave? Yes, but something was holding them back. Well, Scott, what was holding them back were the chains. Yes. But that surface, the entire cave experience was designed to enslave their minds. to create an experience for them, causing them to believe what they experienced was all there was to experience. Because when the escaped prisoner returned and took away their chains, they remained prisoners in their minds and killed the messenger, because the true bondage was internal, not external. Listen to me carefully. Our bondage is not alcohol. Our bondage is not eating too much. Our bondage is not drugs. Our bondage is not porn. Our bondage is not shopping. Our bondage is not, you fill in the blank with whatever it is. Our bondage is the enslavement of our minds. And the gospel of Jesus Christ sets your mind free so you can see truth about reality. And when you first see it, it will scare you to death, because you have never experienced it before. And then when you tell other people about it, they will think you're mad. Because there is no such thing as 3D. There is no such thing as full color. There is no such thing as surround sound. There is no such thing as sunlight and moonlight. There is no such thing as flowers and streams and oceans. No. Everything that exists is on that wall. You can't have a happy marriage. Nobody has a happy marriage. You can't rejoice in ministry and love serving people. Nobody enjoys that. You can't be content with your house and your car and your yard. You can't be okay with your body shape. Nobody lives like that. What we experience, we assume is reality. And what the gospel says is it's not we who are mad, it is you. It is not us who are chained. It is those who do not know Christ who are chained. And they are living in a two-dimensional, flat, black and white world. And the gospel comes in and says, you don't even know there's an entire world out there. Anybody tracking? And God's love, this is what I want to get across. God's love has come to melt away the shadow. God's love has come to melt away what is flat and black and white and reveal the bright, 3D, full color you. Because the reality around you is infinitely more beautiful and complex and stunning than either you or I can comprehend. And the gospel comes in and melts away what is not you and reveals who you are and reveals who God is. C.S. Lewis, let me read this quote, and then we'll get to Scripture in just a minute. C.S. Lewis. Let's listen, because I'm going to put this whole quote up on the screen. Not all of it, just part of it's there. Let's listen to this. He said, this is in his book, The Weight of Glory. He says, it is a serious thing to live in a society of possible gods and goddesses. To remember that the most dullest, most uninteresting person you can talk to may one day be a creature which, if you saw it now, you would be strongly tempted to worship. He goes on, there are no ordinary people. You have never met or talked to a mere mortal. Nations, cultures, arts, civilizations, these are mortal, and their life is to ours as the life of a gnat. But it is immortals whom we joke with, work with, marry, snub, and exploit. The person sitting beside you is so much grander than you can even imagine. Do you realize that the person sitting beside you, the person you married, is either a son or daughter of God? But we live in a flat world, staring at a wall in front of us thinking that's it. We get up and we go to work every day and we come home and we think all of life is just make sure you pay the bills. All of life is you just get up and you just, oh, wouldn't it just be wonderful to have a fully manicured yard? I mean, isn't that the joy of life? Look at my truck. Look how it shines in the sunlight. I just want to scream at people. Do you have any idea how you are trapped in a cave? All of life is that you win an argument on Facebook. All of life is that you look in the mirror and you've lost 5 pounds. I mean, isn't that just it? I mean, isn't that all? Don't you just want to get to the end of your life and just sit on a beach and look at the sunrise? That's it. I just want to scream, you're in a cave. I'm telling you, there's a whole world out there. I got to get back to this. We'll be here all day. That, what he's saying, is reality. It is the most difficult. It is so difficult. It is so, what I just read to you, I'm telling you, it is so difficult convincing those who sit in the firelight of a cave focused on the dancing shadows on the wall to convince them there is something more. I want to tell you a story found in the Old Testament book of 2 Samuel. It's a story of a young man by the name of Mephibosheth. Everybody say that with me out loud. Mephibosheth. You're going to have to work on that, right? Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth. I've said it 100 times this week, so I don't screw it up today. Mephibosheth. This guy suffered immense pain and disappointment, and because he did, he doubted he was worth much. Like many of you sitting in this room, he didn't turn violent. Even though he suffered immense pain, he didn't turn violent. He didn't become an alcoholic. He didn't enter into a paralyzing depression or anything that one might expect. He was tough, just like many of you. He maintained his life, just like many of you. But he disappeared into the shadows, the cave of life. And he accepted reality as he perceived it. He lived life. He grows up. There's no evidence that he developed a victim attitude, but there's no evidence that he dreamed big dreams either. He just lived. He just existed. One could argue that he existed in Plato's cave, hidden from the beauty and color of the world around him, watching as the firelight of chance danced on the walls of his life. It is what it is. One day there was a knock at his door. When the door opened, there stood Ziba, a servant of former King Saul. With authority, Ziba spoke to Mephibosheth and said, King David wants to see Mephibosheth now. Remember King David? He's the same David who killed Goliath, the giant. Then he grew up to become the second king of Israel. Then he got his friend's wife, Bathsheba, pregnant. The whole story, that King David. Well, Mephibosheth did not know. We'll call him Bo, okay? How about that? All right? What Mephibosheth didn't know was that many years before David became king, Jonathan, Mephibosheth's father, was David's closest friend. Jonathan and David were so loyal to each other, they made a covenant together. They promised no matter what happened, they would always look after each other's families. Now, Mephibosheth knew nothing about this covenant. So hearing that King David wanted to see him sent chills down his spine. Because King David was known to kill a lot of people. He was a bloody king in many ways. Mephibosheth wondered if maybe King David was going to take his life now too. He feared not only for himself, but for his son, Micah. I can't help but wonder if another emotion kind of gurgled underneath the fear that he had for King David. And that emotion he must have felt had to be, it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. You ever felt that way? It's not fair? You ever looked at things that happen in your life and go, it's just not fair? You ever had something bad happen to you and think to yourself, you know what? I don't want to sound terrible, but I really don't deserve this. And you can think of other people who actually do deserve it. Come on, let's be honest. You ever carried with you that sense of, why did it have to happen to me? Why does it have to happen to anybody? This is not fair, this is not fair. Well, Mephibosheth had to carry some of that underneath everything in his life, because life had not been fair to Mephibosheth. His life started out great. His father was Prince Jonathan, and his grandfather was King Saul, the first king of Israel. He was royalty when he was a child, and royalty had privileges. In fact, he even had a royal name, Mirabal. Mirabal. It means opponent of Baal, or Baal, maybe as you have heard it referred to before, a pagan god. He was the opponent of Baal. He was given that name. That's like a warrior's name. But now his name was different. His name was changed from Mirabal to Mephibosheth, which means son of shame. Now think about that. He goes from opponent of Baal to son of shame. Why did his name change? His name was changed because of something that happened to him when he was a child. When he was a little boy, around 5 years of age, a man, bloodied and exhausted from battle, ran into the palace where Mirabal lived and yelled out, "King Saul and his sons are dead. King Saul and his sons are dead." Wives wept. Servants were paralyzed in fear. And Mephibosheth remembered how his nurse came running up to him and yelled to him, "Mirabal, run, run for your life." And he took off running. But his 5-year-old legs couldn't really keep up with all the energy and momentum building around him. So his nurse noticed he was scrambling and trying to keep up with everyone running for their lives. She scooped him up in her arms and began to run with him. But something caused her to drop him. And when he was dropped, he broke both of his feet, and it maimed him for life. And so, on the day his dad, Prince Jonathan, died, and his grandfather, King Saul, died, Mirabal's life changed for the worse. His nurse took him to Lodabar. Lodabar is an obscure town a long way from the capital, and they changed his name from Mirabal, which is opponent of Baal, to Mephibosheth, son of shame. He lived the rest of his life without a father, without a grandfather, with a severe disability. And here's what's interesting. Whenever he is mentioned from that point on in Scripture, every time he's mentioned, his disability is mentioned with his name. Mephibosheth, who was lame in both feet. Look at me. Can you imagine having your brokenness attached to your name? What would it sound like? Scott, the anxiety-ridden, depressed pastor. Jason Simpson, I just made that name up. If you happen to be Jason Simpson, it's completely ironic. The lustful, porn-addicted father. Mary Johnson, the angry, greedy nurse. Sarah Montgomery, the diabetic, overweight bank teller. Teresa Manson, the skinny, image-obsessed schoolteacher. Put your name there, and then put your disability beside it. Now imagine every single time someone referred to you, they said your name and your brokenness afterwards. What would it sound like? What would it be for you? He lived in hiding because being part of the defeated royal family meant he was actually an enemy of the state. So when a new king would come in, they would find all of the people who were connected to that family and any of their lineage and kill them all, because they didn't want anybody to create a coup and take the new king over. So it was very normal when a new king would come in to just wipe out everybody who was part of the other king. So there's a knock at his door. King David wants to see Mephibosheth now. How do you think he felt? What did David want? What in the world could Mephibosheth do? There's nothing he could do. He's poor. He's son of shame. His legs do not work. He can't run. He can't fight. He can't hide. He could only go and see King David and face the end of his life with honor. So Mephibosheth was brought to King David. And when he saw King David, he bowed and he paid honor to him. And as his face was to the ground, David called his name, Mephibosheth. And without even looking up, Mephibosheth answered, "Your servant." And then King David said this. This is the gospel tucked away in the Old Testament. Don't be afraid. You ever heard those words before? Do not fear. Don't be afraid. For I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan. I will restore to you all the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will always eat at my table. Table, bread, wine. Do you see the gospel? Do you see it all tucked in the Old Testament? You will always eat at my... Wow. He quickly put his face even lower to the ground, and he responds to David, and he says, "What is your servant that you should notice a dead dog like me?" Dead dog. That's a fitting name, isn't it? It seemed anybody who opposed King David was a dead dog. Goliath was a dead dog. All the enemies of David were dead dogs. He killed all of them. In fact, he was so bloody he couldn't even build the temple. Mephibosheth could not expect anything different. But as he waited with his face down, wondering when David's sword might slice him in two, something else happened. Then the king summoned Ziba, Saul's servant, and said to him, "I have given your master's grandson everything. Everything that belonged to Saul and his family. You and your sons and your servants are to farm the land for him and bring in the crops." He won't ever have to work again. We'll take care of all the farmland and bring him all the crops. He is now promoted back to royalty, and he gets all the dividends of every single thing that his father Jonathan and his grandfather Saul had and owned, so that your master's grandson may be provided for. And I love this last line. "And Mephibosheth, grandson of your master, will always eat at my table." And here's how the story ends. "And Mephibosheth lived in Jerusalem because he always ate at the king's table, and he was crippled in both feet." Don't you love the fact that he ate at the king's table with his brokenness in full display? It was never hidden. Listen to me very carefully, okay? I hope you get something out of this. Sometimes life sucks. Right? Sometimes life sucks, and as a result, you get wounded. Sometimes life sucks, and as a result, you get wounded, and because of your pain, you hide in an obscure village on the outskirts of town. Sometimes life sucks, and as a result, you get wounded, and because of your pain, you hide on the obscure village on the outskirts of town, and while you're in hiding, you give up on your dreams for a better life. Sometimes life sucks, and as a result, you get wounded. And because of your pain, you hide in an obscure village on the outskirts of town. And while you're in hiding, you give up on your dreams for a better life. And then all of a sudden, grace knocks on your door and gives you everything that was yours to begin with. Sets a place at the table and feeds you until you can't eat anymore, and never hides your brokenness, but instead accepts you as is. Love melts away who you are not, and reaches into the cave and pulls you into the sunlight and says, welcome home. Mephibosheth, you are broken. You are wounded. You are orphaned. You settled in Lodabar, but you are not forgotten. You are the king's grandson. You are the prince's son. You are loved. You are royal. You are worthy. Love melts away who you are not and reveals the truth that's always been true about you. 1 Peter 2:9. You are not like all that other stuff. No. You are a chosen people. You are royal priests. A holy nation. God's very own possession. And as a result, you can show others the goodness of God, for He called you out of darkness, out of the cave, and into His wonderful light. Heather, go back to the first screen of that verse. Next screen back. You are not like that, for you. Do you believe you're chosen? Do you believe you are royal? Do you believe you are a holy nation? Do you believe you are God's very own possession? Not with my problems, not with my trials, not with my wounds, not with your broken feet. Not because you're hiding out in an obscure village on the outskirts of town, giving up on all your dreams. What I love about it is He thought He was forgotten, but grace chased Him down. Chased Him down. Life sucks. But because of grace, you get to live. Let's pray. Father, what an incredible reminder of your love. Your love, your love, your love, your love, your love melts away who we are not and reaches in when we are tucked away and think we are forgotten. Hidden away in the cave, thinking that these two-dimensional images that are dancing around us is reality. When, God, you walk into the darkness of that and you call us out into your marvelous light and you put us at a table and you set it for us and you call us royal and you call us prince and you call us princesses and you call us children. We are yours. How incredible is that? Thank you for loving us. And thank you that your grace finds us no matter where we are. In Jesus' name, amen.